Right. For today seminar, we will focus on trendline and regression analysis. Chapter number 6. Right. Chapter number 6. And then kalau sempat kita akan masuk chapter number 7, which is forecasting or time series analysis. Right. So for modeling relationship and examining the trend data means that when we want to do regression means the objective of regression means that we want to know the relationship of the data, right? Whether smoking have a relationship with the heart disease or not, smoking have a relationship with the CVD, cardiovascular disease or not, right? Kita nak tengok eating habit and weight gain. What is the relationship between these two factors? So we do a relationship regression analysis to know the relationship, and we want to predict if let's say we found that the smoking cigarette have a relationship to heart disease, right? So if you smoke 4 cigarettes a day, what is the risk of getting heart disease? So that is the purpose of doing regression analysis. So before regression analysis, we have another analysis we call as a correlation analysis. Correlation analysis means that we want to know the relationship between two variables only. And they will provide us the strength of a relationship between two variables, whether it has a strong correlation or strong relationship or moderate relationship or weak relationship or no relationship at all. So in correlation, they will give us two-way magnitude, either positive correlation or negative correlation. We want to know the sales have a correlation with the selling price. So kalau ada correlation, what is the effect? What is the strength of relationship between sales and selling price? If positive correlation means that when the selling price increase, and sales also increase. So dia punya, nanti I terangkan dia punya in detail. So predictive analytics, right? What we want to do now in regression is a predictive analytics. So another name for regression analysis is lies under predictive analytics category. So under predictive analytics category, we have a lot of analysis such as a linear function, logarithmic function, polynomial function, power function, and exponential function. But you don't need to remember others function. We want to focus on linear function. Y equal to a plus bx. If you still remember when you do mathematics during SPM kan, ingat tak? You ingat lagi dia punya line. Kalau kita draw a line, so a straight line will represent y equal to mx plus c. So y equal to mx plus c represent a straight line lah. So m is your slope and c is intercept. So of course, when you do a predictive analytics, you need to know some basic mathematical term lah. Y equal to mx. Slope is the difference between the 2 points. Kita dapat dia punya kecerunan ya. This is what we call as slope lah. Intercept means what is the value that the intercept in y axis, right? The intercept in y axis. Okay. Good job. Alright. So now let's look at correlation analysis. So in correlation analysis is a statistical techniques used to measure relationship and the strength of relationship between two variables, commonly known as independent variable and dependent variable. So we have two variables in this analysis. So what is independent variable and what is independent variable? So independent variable is a variable usually kita letak dekat x axis. Dependent variable usually kita letak dekat y axis. So for example, let's say smoking cause heart disease. It means that to get heart disease, it depends on how many cigarette you smoke, right? So maksudnya sekarang smoking will contribute to heart disease. Right? Heart disease. So means that heart disease will depend on how many cigarettes you smoke. So heart disease will be your dependent variable and smoking will be your independent variable. Another example, let's say sales and selling price. So nowadays we have a lot of competitors where when your selling price is lower, your sales will be increased, for example. Right? So selling price will depend on sales will depend on selling price. So sales depend on selling price means sales is your dependent variable and selling price is your independent variable. So that is two example I can give to you lah. Right, so I hope you understand what is the difference between independent variable and dependent variable. This is very important before we proceed with the topic. Boleh faham tak? Dependent variable and independent variable. Hey, semua senyap ni. Can you speak up? Kalau ada soalan apa, speak up. So independent variable and dependent variable, the thing that we need to understand. Dependent variable, the thing that we want to observe. Independent variable is the thing that what happen if we change what happened to dependent variable. For example, let's say we're talking about heart disease and smoking, right? So heart disease depend on how many cigarettes you smoke. So heart disease will be your dependent variable, and in smoking is your independent variable. Independent variable means that the variable that not depending on any other factors. Dependent variable means that the variable that depend on something else. For example, sales and selling price. So sales will depend, number of sales will depend on selling price. So sales will be your dependent variable and selling price is your independent variable. So maksudnya faktor-faktor yang contribute to sales adalah selling price kan. So sales ni adalah dependent variable and selling price is independent variable. Atau lagi kita boleh kata exercise. How hours of exercise, right? And weight. Weight ada satu lagi weight in kilo, and then kita boleh kata lagi apa lagi yang contribute to weight kita punya apa lagi. Okay, kita tunjuk yang ni dululah. Kalau you exercise, apa akan jadi dengan weight, right? So weight ni, berat kita depend on number of hours exercise. Kalau you tak exercise, weight akan tinggi. Kalau you kurang exercise, weight akan tinggi. Kalau you banyak exercise, weight akan kurang. So weight ni faktor yang contribute kepada berat badan adalah, salah satunya faktor adalah exercise. So di sini kita kata exercise, weight is your dependent variable, right? And a number of hour exercise is your independent variable. So ini dia punya kategori lah. Macam mana kita nak classify this variable is a dependent variable and the other one is a independent variable. So independent variable normally we call as a x-axis variable, and dependent variable is going to be y-axis variable. Right, remember ini akan masuk dalam test nanti. Right, test kita minggu depan saja. Tak jauh pun. Right, so make sure you pay a lot of attention. So dalam topik ni, yang topik akan forecasting, kita akan buat your group assignment, group project, and then your test pun will depend on this topik juga. Right. So I hope you understand. Another one example lagi I boleh bagi dekat you, let's say um, kita weight lah, weight will depend on calorie intake. So weight ni, faktor-faktor yang mengcontribute kepada weight ni also disebabkan oleh calorie intake juga. So weight ni depend on calorie intake. So weight adalah dependent variable, calorie intake adalah independent variable, right? So calorie intake ni does not depend, dia tak ada depending on apa-apa kan. So dia adalah independent variable. Weight dia depend kepada calorie intake. So weight adalah dependent variable. Boleh faham dia punya classification dia tu? Ada soalan tak? Saya cuba bagi faham seboleh yang mungkin. Right? Boleh faham Sebab this is the most crucial part. Kalau you tak boleh classify ataupun tak boleh nak fahamkan what is dependent variable and what is independent variable, you cannot do this topic, correlation and regression. Because in correlation and regression, we need to identify what is our dependent variable and what is our independent variable. And dependent variable normally we call as a outcome variable, means that the thing that we want to measure. So apa faktor yang kita nak measure ni disebabkan oleh apa? Disebabkan oleh weight, disebabkan oleh height. So yang variable-variable yang lain ni dikatakan sebagai independent variable, right? So I hope you understand that part. So determining which variable is dependent and which variable is independent is very important step in correlation analysis and regression analysis. If you fail to understand dependent variable and independent variable, means that your model nanti akan jadi salah lah. For example, let's say kita tengok data set yang saya bagi ni, Blue Moon Private Limited, right? So kita ada sales, advertising expenditure, selling price, research and development expenditure. So sales ni will depend on advertising expenditure. So sales adalah dependent variable. Advertising expenditure is your independent variable. Sales also depend on selling price. So selling price is your independent variable. Sales is your dependent variable. Sales also depend on research and development expenditure. So sales is your dependent variable. R&D expenditure is your independent variable, right? So semua ni yang belakang ni dikatakan sebagai independent variable, and only sales is your dependent variable. In this case, we want to know what is the effect of sales when we change the way, when we spend less in expenditure, advertising expenditure, when the selling price increase, when we spend a lot of money in research and development expenditure. What is the effect towards the sales, right? Okay, now example of correlation. In many business situations, manager often want to seek relationship between sales and profit, advertising expenditure and sales. Basically, we would say is that the sales would determine the profit, right? So means that sales is your dependent variable. In this case, the profit will be sales will determine the profit. So profit is your dependent variable, and sales is your independent variable, right? So as I said before, correlation analysis, we just want to know the relationship between these two variables, sales and profit. Is there any relationship or no relationship at all, right? So if there is a relationship, what is the strength of the relationship? Is it strong relationship or weak relationship? If it has a strong relationship, means that these two variables play an important role in predicting profit, right? So we want to know what is the magnitude of the relationship. Either it is a positive relationship or negative relationship. If it has a positive relationship, means that it has a positive effect. Maksudnya kalau sales increase, profit also increase. That is a positive relationship. You need to take note about this yang I cakap tadi. When we have a positive relationship, it means that it has a positive effect. When the sales increase, profit also increase. That is what we call as a positive relationship. For negative relationship means that when the sales increase, profit will decrease. That is opposite punya direction. Negative relationship means opposite direction. Bila sales increase, profit decrease, or sales decrease, profit will increase. Same goes to another example. Let's say smoking and heart disease. When you smoke, kalau positive relationship means that when you smoke more cigarette, then your risk of getting heart disease is also increase. Right? Kalau you isap banyak rokok, risk of getting heart disease also increase. Kalau negative relationship means that dia terbalik kan, dia opposite direction. Kalau dia isap banyak rokok, risk of getting heart disease will decrease. So isaplah rokok, dia kata macam tu. Conclusion. This is very important when you want to make a conclusion. Right? So now, method of determine the correlation. So semua ni I ambil dalam buku Chua, tapi ada benda-benda lain yang I tambah-tambah sikit dalam buku Chua, tak berapa complete. Right? So in determine the correlation, right? So there are 3 method available currently lah. The famous method. Basically there are a lot of method lah. Right? Currently we have 3 method yang very famous. The first one is scatter diagram. Scatter diagram means that we're going to tabulate the data like this. We have x axis and y axis, and we have a tabulation of data. So yang titik-titik merah ni, ini adalah observation kita lah. This is what we do in this is what we call as a scatter diagram. So tanpa line di tengah-tengah ni. Right? So ini yang dikatakan scatter diagram. So data observation kita akan scattered lah around the diagram ni. So dalam scatter diagram ni we can see the pattern of relationship or the pattern of the trend. Either the trend is positive relationship or negative relationship or no relationship at all. Right? But you need to remember in this chapter we are focusing on linear relationship, not quadratic relationship or exponential relationship. Right? So another method is Pearson product moment correlation coefficient of correlation. Right? So the symbol for Pearson product moment coefficient of correlation is R. Right? Which is this is the common symbol. Right? Common symbol. I boldkan dia. Okay, this is R. So this is they give us the value that tell what how strong the relationship between these two variables. So we want to know there is a relationship between smoking and heart disease. So let's say we do a scatter diagram method. Scatter diagram method, we see there is a positive relationship. Let's say kita dapat macam ni. Dia dapat line menegak macam ni. Right? Dan naik atas. Trend dia naik atas macam ni. So we know that there is a positive relationship. So how strong the relationship, we don't know based on this scatter diagram. So that's why we need to accompany our analysis with the Pearson product moment coefficient of correlation. It will tell us what is the strength of relationship. Either is a strong relationship, moderate relationship, or weak relationship. Right? So Spearman rank coefficient of correlation, normally the symbol is rho. Rho macam ni bentuk dia. Say I buat equation. Where is the rho? Ya, rho macam ni bentuk dia. Dia bentuk macam P tapi dia bukan P, dia rho. Right? So Spearman rank coefficient of correlation normally for qualitative and quantitative variable lah, right? So when you have a non-normal distribution, then you can use a Spearman rank correlation, or you have a qualitative at least ordinal scale, then you can use a Spearman rank correlation. But for Pearson product moment correlation, the condition or the properties of the variable, dependent variable should be numerical, and independent variable also should be numerical, right? It measure two-way communication lah, means x and y only, right? You have more than one x, then you need to do more scatter diagram, right? Okay, so this is the strength of correlation when you apply Pearson product moment correlation, right? When we apply Pearson product moment correlation or Spearman rank correlation coefficient, and the value of correlation, which is R, right, dia akan bagi dalam range from -1 to 1, right? Daripada -1 hingga 1. Boleh faham, right? Ada soalan tak setakat ni? Kalau if you have a question, then please speak up, right? Faham ke? I tak nampak muka you, so I tak tahu you apa condition you kat belakang ni. Okay. So.
Okay, yes sir, okay.
Okay, good. Right. When interpreting the value of correlation, the strength and the direction is positive, negative. So dia akan bagi, kita nampak ni dia range daripada -1 to 1. Means that when the value of, so dia akan bagi macam ni. I tulis. So dia akan mana dia ni? Okay, from -1 to 0 to 1. So means that dekat tengah-tengah ni adalah pemisah. 0 means that no correlation. Above 0 is we call as positive correlation. Means correlation means relationship lah. You need to understand that. Below 0 means that negative correlation, right? Below 0 is negative correlation. So this is the division of the value, -1 to 1, right? So the guideline of the strength, this is the strength value. When you compute Pearson product moment correlation coefficient, they will give you a value range between -1 to 1. So when the value of R is equal to 0, that means that there are no linear correlation. Tak ada correlation, no relationship at all. When the value of R is between 0 and 0.49, it means that it weak correlation. Dia ada weak correlation. Either positive correlation or negative correlation, it depend on whether the negative sign or positive sign in that value. So let's say we have from 0.5 until 0.779, we're going to have a moderate correlation. 0.8 to 0.99 is a strong correlation, and when R is equal to 1, it means that it's a perfect correlation. Perfect correlation we rarely happen lah. Selalunya tak jumpa perfect correlation. Perfect correlation means that you akan jumpa semua observation in one straight line. So this is what we call as R equal to 1. Means that R perfect lah. Ataupun dia negative correlation, dia macam ni, dia bentuk ke bawah. This is R for -1. Right? Okay, boleh faham So I hope you take note on the guideline ni. This is the guideline that we're going to use in this subject, right? So example of the strength of correlation, when R is equal to 0, there is no linear correlation. I just repeat again. When R is equal to 1, there is a perfect positive correlation. linear relationship between X and Y. And you need to remember R is a positive value. That's why we call it as a positive linear relationship. When R is equal to 0.83, there is a strong positive linear correlation. And if you notice, R is a positive value. Now, kita tengok dekat sini, R is negative 0.61. 0.61 is a moderate relationship. So since they're negative, we can say that there is a moderate negative linear relationship between X and Y. Okay? And for R is negative 0.23, there is a weak negative linear relationship. So I hope you get the idea on how to interpret the correlation, right? So far, do you understand this one? This is a very...
Yes, okay.
Yes.
So, okay.
Okay, good. Now, let's try to do a scatter diagram. Right, a scatter diagram is a graph that show the relationship between independent variable and independent variable. Macam tadi I tunjuk dekat you, dia tunjuk dia akan scatter the data around X and Y. So this is Y axis and this is X axis. Always remember, this is Y axis and this is X axis. Jangan silap, kalau you silap dia akan dapat relationship dia lain, right? So, by drawing scatter diagram, we can determine the type of correlation between independent variable and independent variable, whether it has a positive correlation or negative correlation. Right? So, the scatter diagram will give us these two values sajalah. So, this is an example, right? So this is a strong positive correlation. Kita nampak yang pertama ni, this is a strong positive correlation because they are increasing from left to right. When we have a data that show the trend increasing from left to right, so it has a positive correlation. Right? So when they decreasing from left to right, so it has a negative correlation. And when the data is scattered around the graph, maksudnya tak ada pattern langsung, tak ada menaik, tak ada menurun, dia just scattered, dia macam ni dia around the graph, maksudnya there is a no correlation, right? Ataupun dia bentuk macam ni, dia scattered around, so there is no correlation at all lah. And then we have weak correlation in this is number 2, 3, 4. Number 4, we have weak correlation, means that the data is quite spread. They still show increasing trend, right? Increasing trend means that we have a correlation, a positive correlation, but the data is scattered. Dia lebih dispersed, right? Dia dispersed sikit. They show that it will conclude that we have a weak correlation lah. Sama juga dengan weak negative correlation. So kita nampak dia punya data ni agak dispersed, agak spread, right? Tapi dia still show a negative trend, downtrend kan. So kalau you biasa dengan sekarang kan famous dengan cryptocurrency lah, apa tu, saham. You biasa benda tu? Siapa yang biasa? So kalau siapa yang biasa tu, dia akan faham sikit lah the trend, uptrend, downtrend, no trend, candlestick. Ni semua yang kita nak tengok ni, yang method-method yang kita nak belajar ni lebih kurang sama, kita boleh apply juga dalam candlestick punya ni, but candlestick is a bit different to read lah, tapi the same concept. So when we have quadratic relationship, right? Kalau dalam graph ni number 5, 6, graph number 6 ni, dia nampak macam quadratic ni. So this is no linear correlation. It doesn't mean that there has no correlation. It has a correlation at certain point. Kita nampak dekat sini, at certain point from 1 to 3, when x equal to 1 until 3, right? It shows an increasing trend. When it reach 3, that is an optimum point. So dia akan decreasing from 3 to 6. So there is a quadratic correlation. They still have a correlation, but no linear correlation. It's not a linear correlation. So I hope you understand the pattern that scatter graph, scatter plot gives to us. All right. So this is a Pearson product moment coefficient of correlation. This is a formula. You don't need to remember the formula because we're going to use Excel or software to calculate for us, right? But definitely we need to understand sikit lah the concept of Pearson correlation, product moment coefficient of correlation, right? Compared to scatter diagram only provide the trend of the graph or the trend of the two variable, right? Either it's a positive correlation or negative correlation, right? But it doesn't tell us how strong the correlation, right? So what is the number of strength? So if to obtain the number of strength, right? So we need to use Pearson product moment correlation. It will provide the strength of correlation that can be either perfect correlated, strong correlated, moderately strong correlated, or weak correlated, or no correlated at all, right? So now let's look at the graph, the data set, right? Tadi kita tengok to model the price demand function. A hypothetical example is used. Kita akan menggunakan Sunshine Private Limited dataset to model to see the trends for sales and selling price. Now let's look at the data. So this is Sunshine Private Limited. This is Blue Moon Private Limited. What is the difference? We have 43, 40. This is also, and this is 20. Okay. Now, so we have sales, and we want to know what is the correlation, what is the relationship between sales and selling price. So now, first of all, the best way to make sure your data set is ready in Excel file, you need to make sure the first row yang atas ni, row number 1 contain your variable name, right? The second row onwards will contain your data only, right? So now let's look at this data set. Kita nampak dekat sini number 2 and number 3. Row number 2 and row number 3 is not our data, right? Our data start at row number 4. So this is not really nice data for data set that ready for analysis. So to make sure our data set is ready for analysis, we need to get rid the second and third row from the data set. So we need to make sure our data set only contain the first row is your variable name, which is sales, advertising expenditure, selling price, and then we have research and development expenditure, right? And second row onwards, dekat bawah ni sampai ke bawah ni is your data set observation, right? So senang kita nak buat analysis. If you want to do a correlation analysis, you want to do scatter diagram, you just tarik macam tu saja. Maksudnya data is ready for analysis. Okay. Now let's say kita nak buat scatter diagram. We want to know what is the relationship between sales and selling price. So kita highlight this one, or if you don't want to highlight also can, but the point we highlighting the data is means that when we want to do we want to insert the chart, then the Excel akan automatically detect the data set that the data that we want to apply. So now we go for insert tab, And then kita cari dekat recommended chart ni, dekat sebelah ni ada charts kan. Dalam chart punya tab dekat sini, menu, right? Kita pilih scatter diagram. Boleh eh? Semua ikut benda yang sama tak? Boleh tak you buat sekali dengan I? Sebab bila bila you tak buat sekali dengan I, you buat sekali ya. Right. Kalau you tak buat sekali dengan I means nanti you akan lost. Right. Bila you lost nanti bila group assignment you akan tanya macam-macam. Right. So kita elakkan macam tu, kita belajar, kita buat sekali sama-sama. Right. So you tekan sekali lagi I ajar. So first you need to select sales and then select selling price, right? And go to insert menu, insert tab, right? And go find chart, scatter diagram, insert scatter X and Y. And kita pilih simple scatter diagram, right? So it will give us the chart lah. So kita tak chart dekat sini dulu, alright? So if you look at the chart, ternampak dekat sini, dia dah bagi dekat kita, this is the title. Kita boleh edit title, double click the title, it just says that relationship between sales and selling price. Right. So kalau kita nampak the chart, kalau kita nak buat presentation, nak give to people, right, kita nampak this one dekat sebelah kiri ni, this is quite empty, right? So we need to get rid all the empty cell dekat sini. Dia nak buang. Dia tak nak dia start from 0 until 250. So dia akan rugi ruang lah kat sini. Kita nak fully optimize the graph. So you just double click dekat axis ni. Right? Double click kat X axis ni, dia nampak dekat sini dia akan highlight. We will highlight the X axis number dekat sini. And we go to format axis. Dekat sini ada axis option. Dekat sini dia kata bound from 0 to 250. Kalau you boleh nampak. I tak sure I boleh besarkan, tak boleh besarkan. Oh, yang besarkan teruk. Tak boleh besarkan. Tak apa. I hope you understand, you can see lah. Nanti I besarkan kat sini. So minimum, kita nampak dekat minimum ni, dia start dekat sini maybe around this one. Dia kata dekat sini, kalau you point the cursor, your mouse cursor tu dekat the first point, dia kata X is 130, right? Dia dalam kurungan tu, kurungan 130, 16.5. Maksudnya on X axis ni dia start from 130. So maybe we can put minimum bound is 120. So kita akan dapat the nice graph. But if you can see dekat sini, still our data set is not properly letak dalam tempat dia. Maksudnya dekat bawah ni we represent apa? Bawah ni represent X axis ni dia akan represent sales. But for Y axis ni dia represent selling price. So this is wrong, right? So we know from our understanding or prior understanding, sales is dependent variable. Sales is depend on selling price, right? So selling price is our independent variable. So independent variable should be on Y axis and dependent variable should be on X axis. So what we need to do is we need to click on select data dekat sini, dekat chart design ni. First we need to select the chart lah. Tekan chart ni, tekan on chart design and tekan on select data. Right? Are you with me? Dapat tak? Kan terlepas. Ada yang terlepas bagi tahu? Ya, you good Right, ulang. So now I nak bagi tahu dekat sini, what happened here, kita nampak 120 to 240 ni adalah the value from sales. Right? The minimum value is 130 and the maximum value is 221. Is it 221? Yes. So, sales ni sepatutnya dia dekat y-axis. Yang selling price should be on x-axis, because we know from the prior knowledge sales depend on selling price. So to change the axis, we need to select the graph, right? And we go for chart design. Tekan chart design and tekan on select data. Right? Tekan on select data, they will show you a dialog box. One dialog box. Dekat sini kita nampak ada switch row and column. Right? Kalau kita tekan ni, dia tak jadilah. So kita tekan balik. So maksudnya kita nak macam ni. Something wrong with a legend entries. So kita tekan edit. Bila kita tekan edit, dekat edit series ni, nampak series X value. So our X is currently dia select dekat sales. But we don't want sales to be X. We want selling price to be our X. So we select selling price and kita tekan dekat sini lah. And then for Y axis, series for Y value, currently they select selling price. We want sales to be on Y axis. Right? Okay. And then kita tekan OK lah. Tekan OK and tekan OK. So now what happened here? Tak ada langsung. You know what happened? Because tadi kita dah ubah. Kita ubah balik dekat sini. Kita tekan X axis kat bawah ni, kita tekan sini balik. Axis option, let's say from 0 to let's say 21. The maximum value for sales will be 20, right? Right? So, nampak tak dia punya graph? Sales sama kan? So, kita nak tengok the minimum value for selling price. Kita highlight this one. Kita boleh tengok dekat bawah ni. Ada minimum value is 13. So, what we need to do is, we just select dekat bawah x-axis ni. Kita letak, let's say from 12. So, kita akan nampak the nice graph. Right? Boleh faham? And dekat x-axis, dekat y-axis ni kita boleh tukar juga. Let's say from, let's say kita kata from 100. Let's say kita akan nampak the best one, the best display. Okay. Baru kita nampak the best display. So from here, kita nampak dekat sini. Yes. Ada soalan ke Akmal? Right? So baru kita akan nampak dia punya trend. So from this scatter diagram, can you tell me what is the trend? Is it a negative trend or positive trend? Syamio ada sini. Shazmio. Can you unmute yourself and tell me what is the trend? Yes. Is it a positive relationship or negative relationship? Negative, because dia menurun from left to right. Very good. So this is a negative relationship, descending. Right, good. So kita boleh tukarlah dia punya color. Kalau kita tak suka color biru tu, boleh tukarlah. And then dekat sini kita dah dapat line dia. Let's say we not sure what is the, kalau kita contohlah kita tak betul-betul kita tak faham. Ni trend ni menurun ke menaik ke, kita pun tak nampak. Let's say for example lah. Let's say tak nampak juga kan. So what you can do is you can go for format chart design, right? You select graph ni, go to chart design and you click on quick layout. Sekali lagi ulang Kalau you tak nak, kalau let's say you betul-betul tak faham lah ini menurun ke menaik ke, you tak tahu, you tak boleh identify from the raw data, you tak boleh identify juga. So what you can do is you can click on the graph and click on chart design, right, and click on quick layout. Klik dekat quick layout ni, you cari yang ada fx ni, yang ada fx, you boleh tekan. So bila you tekan ada efek ni, you tekan sini, dia akan keluar lebih nampak serabut sikit lah, a bit messy, right? So because they have a legend dekat sini, selling price, linear selling price, you just delete dah benda tu, you tak nak, right? So dia akan nampak line ni, you akan nampak line lebih jelas, line is menurun, right? Lebih clear. And then you boleh buat lah benda-benda yang cantik sikit lah. Let's say you don't want the line, you boleh cancel. You don't want the exist line dalam tu, you boleh cancel, right? Nampak lebih modern sikit, right? Okay. So then we have exist title, you boleh letak lah. Exist title for X exist is selling price. And then baru nampak clear lah graph ni. Okay, X exist apa? Sales. Alright, baru nampak dengan jelas. And then yang kotak ni nanti saya terangkan what is the meaning of this value, right? So this is what we call as scatter diagram with the trend line, right? So kita nampak trend line menurun, so negative correlation, right? Okay, so now we know that this is a negative correlation, and can you tell me how strong the correlation? What is the strength of correlation? We don't know, right? What we have known from this graph is there is a negative correlation, right? There is a negative correlation means that when selling price decrease, right? When the selling price decrease, the sales will increase. Kalau kita tengok dekat sini, selling price dekat harga RM13 ni, right? Tapi sales dia tinggi. Kalau selling price increase, letak dekat RM20 ni, RM19 ni, dia punya salesnya menurun. That is what we call as a negative correlation. Dia opposite. Selling price increase, sales menurun. Selling price menurun, sales menaik. That is the point of negative correlation. What happen kalau dia positive correlation? Positive correlation means that when the selling price increase, sales also increase. That is the point lah. So now, we want to know. We already know that there is a negative correlation. So what is the strength of correlation? So to know the strength of correlation, so first we need to in Excel, right? There is dia susah nak faham kalau kita buat macam ni and select macam ni. Dua tempat yang berbeza. Maksudnya ada gap dekat sini. Maksudnya C ni kita tak select, dia tak boleh faham. Dia sudah pening. So what we need to do is we going to measure all, right? Measure all sales until research and development. Ataupun kalau kita letak sebelah-sebelah then okay, dia boleh faham, right? So now kita pergi ke data tab. I believe you already installed the toolpack package kan, toolpack add-in, right? So go to data tab and click on data analysis. Click on data analysis and you need to find correlation. You need to find correlation. Right? Okay, semua dah sampai step ni. Ada yang terlepas? So apa kita nak buat sekarang ni? Kita nak cari Pearson product moment correlation. We want to know the strength of correlation. So we need to go to data and data analysis. Click on correlation. Right? And then we click on OK. Bila klik OK, now dekat sini dia tanya dekat kita input. What is the input range? So we click on this one. We select all the data from atas ni, daripada atas ni, daripada sales sampai bawah ni. And remember, sales ni bukan data kita, tapi dia nama variable kita. Kita select semua ni from B1 until E21. Right? We click OK. And then we group by column sebab kita measure by column. Right? And then labels in the first row, yes, sebab kita select sekali sales, expenditure, semua ni kita letak label in first row lah. And then kat mana kita nak display the output, kalau kita nak new workbook ke, new worksheet ke, kita nak letak new output range, kita nak letak kat sini. Biasanya nak letak kat sini. I nak Excel bagi kat I correlation value dekat sini. Right? And then click OK. So they will give us the value lah. Alright. So now. So they give us a lower triangle matrix. Lower triangle matrix ni dinamakan lower triangle matrix. Right? So maksudnya value dekat sini kita ada sales, advertising expenditure, selling price, research and development expenditure. So kita nampak dekat sini sales and sales dia akan letak sebagai satu lah. Yang mana dengan diri dia akan letak satu. Right? Dengan mana dengan diri dia akan letak satu. Means that selling price dengan selling price. So the intersection is 1. Maksudnya tak ada correlation, tak boleh measure pun lah. Right? So kita letak satu. The value here advertising expenditure. Kita tengok dekat sini advertising expenditure. And this is also advertising expenditure. So we are measuring towards sales. Let's say kita tengok sales. Sales yang letak biru, okay. So this sales also biru juga. Right? So kita tengok dekat sini, the intersection here is 0.72. It means that there is a positive correlation between sales and advertising expenditure. So kenapa value ni kosong juga? Kosong. Sales dengan advertising expenditure because this is the same value 0.72057455. Benda yang sama. Benda yang sama. This is a lower matrix. Yang dekat atas ni, kalau dia bagi kat atas ni maksudnya upper matrix, upper triangle matrix. This is lower triangle matrix. Dan sebab nampak macam triangle lah, right? So we are measuring selling price and sales. Selling price and sales. So kat sini lah, selling price and sales should be negative 0.8270. So R is negative 0.8270. So to confirm back whether the result is correct or not, kita tengok the value of R. Kalau dia bagi negative value, means that there is a negative correlation, sama macam kita dapat dalam scatter diagram. Kalau kita tak dapat sama, means something wrong dengan kita punya measurement. Right? So from here we can say that there is a strong negative correlation, negative linear correlation or relationship between sales and selling price. This is how we interpret the value, the result, right? There is a strong negative linear correlation and or relationship between sales and selling price. Now, Nur Nabila, are you here? Nur Nabila, ada ke tak ada yang pakai nama Nur Nabila ni? Tak ada sini ke? Oh, you just buka video dan you pergi tempat lain. Alright, Nur Hafizah Harun, ada tak? Can you speak up? I cakap seorang-seorang kat ni. You buka dan you pergi tempat lain ke? Yo. Hashima Bakar. Okay, toilet lah. Think positive. Right, Hashima Bakar. Can you tell me what is the interpretation for selling price and sales and research and development expenditure? I highlight kuning ni. Okay. So what is the relationship? So can you tell me the relationship the relationship between sales and research and development expenditure? Yang warna kuning ni, 0.68 ni. Macam mana nak interpret ni? Can you tell me? Cepat, kita dah banyak masa ni nak masuk lagi topik satu lagi. Kalau tidak, you tak boleh buat project assignment. Or somebody else. Can you tell me? Moderate. Apa moderate? You need to tell the full sentence. There is a moderate apa? Come on. You dah rehat tak ni? There is a moderate linear correlation between sales and selling price. Alright, good. Betul. Right. Satu lagi perkataan yang you lupa apa? There is a moderate positive linear correlation because there is no negative sign dekat sini kan. There is a positive value. So means kita interpret there is a moderate positive linear correlation or relationship between sales and selling dengan research and development. Right? Very good. Right? Bukan selling price lah, research and development expenditure. Okay? So I think kalau negatif means negatif. Macam tadi ni sales and selling price ni kita dapat negative signs kan? Negative 0.8. Nampak kan? Negative 0.8 ni maksudnya there is strong negative linear correlation. Kalau positif, this is no negative sign, means that there is a moderate strong positive correlation. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, I think kita rehat dalam 10 minit. Pukul 12 kita masuk balik lah. Sekarang 11.50. Pukul 12 kita masuk balik for linear regression. Means that we want to have a 95% confidence on the result, and we leave 5% as an error of the calculation. Right? So then next kita tekan output range dekat bawah ni, output range. Output range ni kita tekan dekat sini. Tekan dekat sini. Letak kat mana-mana lah. Say kita nak letak dekat G2. Maksudnya I nak Excel to present the result here. Dekat semua ni mesti ada result dekat sini. G2. And then dekat bawah ni kita nampak ada residual. Residual ni adalah error. Nanti saya terangkan lebih detail apa itu residual. So kita tekan residual. And then residual plot, line fit plot, ni semua tak payah lagi. Ini kita akan buat detail. Kita akan buat lepas ni sendiri manually sebab dia bagi ni kita tak berapa kena dengan our analysis assumption. And then dekat bawah sekali kita akan nampak normal probability. Yes, Amirul Mazlan, you raise your hand. Ada soalan? Ada soalan ke? Tak ada. Right. So normal probability, tekan normal probability plot lah. Tekan normal probability plot and then okay. So make sure you punya ni semua sama. Okay, no worries. Semua dah dapat yang sama? Level tick, confidence level tick, output range letak dekat G2, and residual tekan residual satu saja, and normal probability plot tekan normal probability plot. Okay, good. Kalau semua yes.
Output range saya tak dapat.
Output range ni dekat sini kan kosong kan, you punya kosong kan mula-mula. Betul?
Okay.
Okay, you tekan tepi ni. And then you nak Excel to present result dekat mana? So, let's say I tekan G2, I letak dekat G2 ni. G2. So, dapat G2 lah. Okay.
Okay.
Alright, good. Semua dapat benda yang sama. Kalau dapat benda yang sama, then kita klik OK lah. Right? Can you respond a bit? Dapat semua yang sama ke? Ataupun ada yang terlepas?
Dapat.
Alright, good. And then kita klik OK lah.
Sir.
Ya.
Input Y range dengan input X range tu sampai 23 ke sampai 21?
21 lah. Sebab you kena buang yang atas ni kan, I ajar daripada awal tadi. Yang kalau you tengok yang asalnya, dia ada ni kan. Dia ada X, kolom nombor 2 ni, kolom nombor 3 ni kan. Row nombor 2 dan nombor 3. So kita kena make sure our data set, right? Our data set is clean. So how to make sure our data set clean? Maksudnya kita kena make sure the first row contain our variable name. Second row onwards is our data set. So I delete row number 2 and number 3 tadi. Yang ni. Nampak tak? I buang ni dulu. Kalau tak, you akan dapat sampai 23 lah. You kena buang ni dulu, baru buat ni. Baru buat sampai 21. So, again, you akan dapat macam ni, baru clean. Baru you boleh buat analysis. Kalau tak, nanti you akan dapat analysis yang salah. Right? So, you click OK. So, Excel akan bagi kat kita this result. Right? So, dia akan provide a normal probability plot juga as well lah. So, we don't need normal probability plot. So, kita besarkan sikit so kita boleh nampak the each of the value. Right? So, each of the value is very important. And you need to listen carefully for your group project. Lepas ni, I terus bagi group project. You terus buat, you dah bagi group dekat I kan. So, you need to submit next week. Right? This is a urgent group project next week. Sebelum kita ni lah, sebelum next class lah. Means 10 hari bulan. 2 minggu untuk you buat. Very simple, tak susah pun. Very simple, no worries. So now dia akan bagi kita one table, second, third, fourth and fifth table. Ada 5 table semua dia akan bagi kat kita. So let's look at the first table, which is regression statistics. Regression statistics, they give us a multiple R. Right? Multiple R is also equal to our regression this one. Apa nama? Pearson product moment correlation coefficient. But in correlation analysis, they give us a negative value, and then kita plot dalam graph, kita plot, kita tahu this is a negative correlation. But in Excel, they give us multiple R in absolute value. They are no negative. They just give us the strength of the correlation, which is 0.8270. Right? So we know that there is a strong correlation. So whether it's a positive correlation or negative correlation, we need to look at the selling price coefficient. Coefficient for selling price. Right? Coefficient of selling price. So coefficient of selling price is negative. So means that this is a strong negative linear correlation. Right? So now we know that this is a strong correlation. Right? So R squared here represent R squared. So this is R, right, which is our R, and R squared is a coefficient of determination. So what does it mean? It means that our coefficient of determination, R squared here, listen carefully, this is very important, you need to interpret this letter. Coefficient of determination, right, or R squared, is 0.6839, right? So 0.6839 usually kita akan convert dia dalam bentuk percentage, which is 68.39%. So what does it mean? It means that the total variation in sales, which is Y, right, is explained by selling price, which is our X, by 68.39%. Right? Only 68.39% of the variation or the factor that explain or contribute to sales is explained by selling price. Yeah. So I put the in simple word, antara faktor-faktor yang contribute kepada sales 68.3% adalah datangnya daripada selling price. So the balance is 100 minus 68.39 tu, the balance of 31.61% yang lain tu datang daripada faktor-faktor lain. Contoh macam faktor advertising expenditure, research and development expenditure yang kita tak measure dalam model ni. Right? So selling price sahaja contribute 68.39% of the variation in sales. Boleh faham, eh? So then we have observation, which is 20. So kita ada 20 observation, kita nampak dekat sini. Kita ada 20 observation. Right? Boleh, ya? So boleh faham dia punya interpretation ni. And then adjusted R squared ni kita tak tengok sangat langsung. Standard error is the error lah. The sum of error. Sum of error ni maksudnya macam ni. Remember tadi kita dah draw a scatter diagram. Okay. Sini kan? Scatter diagram ni yang kita dah draw kan? So this is the line that we obtain, right? Which is negative 11.312x plus 353.57. So this equation represent this line, right? So the error means that the distance between the line and actual observation. Yang bulat-bulat ni actual observation lah. Actual observation. Actual observation means our data set lah. Our data ni. Ni actual observation. So the distance we call as error. So ni tak ada distance sangat kan. So the distance ni, ini adalah error, right? Maksudnya kita tak measure exactly, we are measuring with error, right? So this is the error. Okay, nampak tak error dia? So the distance, jarak di antara line dan observation, jurang dia tu kita katakan sebagai error lah. Maksudnya this line is not a perfect line. Perfect line macam mana kita dapat? Let's say we have perfect correlation. So perfect line means that kita akan draw a line on the dot of observation. So this is a perfect line. So normally this is a rare event lah kalau kita dapat perfect line, right? So normally kita akan draw satu line that represent the whole observation. Means that normally dia akan represent the mean line lah, the average of the observation, the minimum error ni, ini adalah line kita, right? Boleh faham ah? So this is what we call as error, right? So the lower the error, the better the model to predict. So let's say we have a lot of model, when we have a error rate, standard error tu yang rendah, and then that one is a good measure lah, the good model. So now let's look at the second table. They give us a ANOVA table. ANOVA table in buku Chua kan, dia kata benda yang sama dengan ni. Yes, if you are doing a simple linear regression, you will get the same p value. This is a p value, right? Kalau kita letak dalam bentuk tak boleh nak pecahkan. Okay, this is what kalau kita dapat negative E 0.6 ni, maksudnya dia akan ada 1 4 5 6 8 9 7. This is the value lah dekat sini. Kosong ada 5 kat depan. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, ada 6 titik 5 kosong sebelum 6. Right, this is also same, right? Benda yang sama jugalah. For simple linear regression, dia akan dapat benda yang sama. So what does ANOVA tell us? Remember the last topic, I teach you the last topic. So regression, hypothesis testing. So null hypothesis, the model is not fit. The model is fit. Maksudnya fit for apa? For prediction. Or kita kata model, another word is model is not valid. The model is valid. So when alpha is 0.05, so the p value here is less than 0.05, so we will reject null hypothesis and accept alternate hypothesis, which is, and the conclusion is, the model is valid for prediction. So it's all depend on the one-way ANOVA. If the model is valid for prediction when the p-value for ANOVA is less than 0.05, which is this one, kita nampak memang less than 0.05. 0.05 is our alpha. Remember last chapter? Hope you revise back your knowledge on last chapter. Right, when the alpha is less than 0.05, we reject null hypothesis, accept alternate hypothesis. So we can conclude that the model is valid for prediction, and the whole calculation dekat sini kita boleh pakai untuk prediction. And now table number 3, and they give us the coefficient table. This is what we call as coefficient table. In the coefficient table, they have a coefficient value, standard error, t statistics, p value, confidence interval, right? Confidence interval, dia bagi benda yang sama lah, confidence interval benda yang sama, right? So kita boleh delete this one lah, no way, right? Dia ada dia bagi dua kali kita, tak apa. So this one, remember mana kita dapat line ni, equation ni, y equal to negative 11.312 x plus 353.57. Kita dapat daripada table coefficient ni. So this is the coefficient, right? This is what we call as beta. This is beta naught, beta 1. Ataupun in simple word, this is what we call as A and this is B. So remember y equal to A plus BX, right? So our equation now here, y is equal to A is 353. So 353.57 minus our B. Minus lah sebab dia ada negative kan. So minus 11.31 312 lah, 312x. Okay. And x is a selling price and y is our sales. Boleh faham? That's why kita dapat this equation lah. And this is the standard error for selling price. Normally kita akan tengok selling price punya row lah, right? Kita akan tengok selling price punya row. Standard error is very minimum 1.8, and we have t statistics and the p value is less than 0.05. So how to interpret this one? Remember last lecture, hypothesis testing. So hypothesis statement. So here the null hypothesis will be beta 1 equal to 0. Alternate hypothesis, beta 1 is not equal to 0. Beta 1 will represent the selling price, right? Beta 1 will represent the selling price. Our alpha is 0.05. Test statistic, right? Remember nanti kita nak buat macam ni ya. Test statistic t is equal to berapa t kita? T is negative 6.2416 and the p value is equal to 0.000068621 6897 lah, right? And then our decision rule, if alpha is less than p value is less than alpha, decision, if p value less than alpha 0.05, we reject null hypothesis. So our decision is since p value, our p value here is very small, is less than alpha with 0.05, null hypothesis is rejected. So conclusion, right? So means that dekat sini, in other word, kalau kita nak letak dalam bentuk layman yang boleh faham, beta equal to 0, it means that selling price has no relationship with sales. For beta 1 is not equal to 0 means that selling price has relationship with sales. This is how we interpret the beta 1 and equal to 0, beta 1 is not equal to 0. So the conclusion, we can say that since we reject null hypothesis, so we can conclude that sales has significant relationship with selling price. So this is how we interpret the notation lah, the hypothesis testing, right? And then we can look at the confidence interval. This is a lower interval and this is upper interval. Lower interval is -15, upper interval is -7. Kalau kita tengok dekat sini, it does not cross 0. Maksudnya dia will support the p-value lah. Kita nak tengok benda yang sama juga. Dia akan bagi same interpretation lah. Kalau dia tak ada include 0 dalam ni, maksudnya negatif. So dekat sini, kita nampak dekat sini, this one is -15.12 until -7.50. It means that dalam range ini, this is a lower, this is upper interval. Upper class, lower class, upper class lah. Right? So dalam ni tak ada, there are no zero, right? Bila tak ada zero, maksudnya dia significant lah. Dia ada relationship. Kalau dia include zero dalam ni, maksudnya the p-value will be more than 0.05. So this is how we do a linear regression, right? So now, next step dalam your project you gonna summarize kan. Let's say I want you to continue on different data set, which is using a Blue Moon private limited, right? I want you to do a simple linear regression for sales and selling price. Again, buat benda yang sama. Sales and advertising expenditure, sales and research and development expenditure. And then I want you to summarize dalam satu table. Dalam satu table, you letak variable, and then you letak coefficient, right? Coefficient. Betul ke hijau tu? Yeah. And then you letak T statistics, and then you letak P value. You letak satu-satu lah. Tapi I tak nak you ambil semua, tapi you buat satu-satu, you summarizekan dalam satu table. And then mesti ada interpretation dia lah. Whether this is a significant or not significant, you buat setiap satu mesti ada the hypothesis testing for ANOVA, hypothesis testing for coefficient yang tadi I buat ni, right? Yang ni. And then you interpret sikit dia punya R value, R squared, what is the definition of R squared here, and then you need to do correlation dekat sini. So dia dalam 10 muka surat saja, tak banyak pun. Right, that is going to be your group project. Boleh faham? Okay ke? Hello students. So don't worry, ini I record, tapi I ada lost sikit tadi. I lupa nak record yang mula-mula macam mana nak tekan data and data analysis tu. Tapi I hope you understand how to tekan tu semua, right? So ada soalan tak? Nanti cuba dulu. Okay, you can try using Sunshine Private Limited, but in your group project should be you should use Blue Moon Private Limited dataset. Right? use Blue Moon Private Limited dataset, find a simple linear regression for sales and advertising expenditure, sales and selling price, sales and research and development expenditure. Okay? Boleh tengok balik recording sambil buat. But I'm so sorry because tadi I dah masuk tadi, I lupa nak tekan. Lepas setengah jam baru I tekan, 25 minit je I tekan ni. So ada loss banyak sikit lah, tapi untuk interpretation we sempatlah nak capture, right? So yang sebelum tu you need to understand, tekan data analysis, right? Sekali lagi I ulang so since I tak record tadi, untuk yang data ni macam ni I tunjuk this is your project, okay? So you will get that this kind of data. So nampak dekat sini, first step is you need to make sure your data set is clean, right? So the first row should be your variable name, second row onward should be your data. But in this case, the second row and third row is not your data. So you need to delete this one, right? And make sure the second row onward is your data. So this is, we have a 41 observation, 40 observation, okay? So for scatter diagram, I already taught you this morning. The first part ni I dah beritahu you macam mana nak buat scatter diagram and find the correlation analysis. You need to do that as well. There's for simple linear regression, so you need to go for data. Again I tunjuk ni sebab tadi I terlepas record. So you go for data analysis and find regression. Click OK. And then now for input Y range, you cari Y daripada sales ni sampai bawah, sampai habis ni, sampai 40. You ambil sekali dengan sales tu. And then for Y, you ambil let's say selling price, ambil semua, right? Selling price ambil semua. And then make sure you tekan label, confidence interval 95%, residual, normal probability plot, no need lah, no need normal probability plot. Dan sebab nanti I akan buat separate video how to check the assumption. So output range ni, you tekan output range, maksudnya I nak you nak Excel display the result here or where kan. Letak kat sini, let's say I type G2. So I tekan OK. So Excel will give us the value lah. And here multiple R dekat sini, they will give us the absolute value, not representing the negative or positive side. They will give us the strength of correlation. So to know the negative or positive side, you need to draw a scatter diagram lah, you know lah. Ataupun kalau tengok dekat coefficient ni, dia dapat negative. So this is a negative correlation. So what is the strength? Strength is a weak, moderate negative linear correlation. Because the R is negative 0.66. And the R squared is, tadi I dah explain dekat you, right? R squared is the square of R. It means that the total variation of sales is explained by selling price. Selling price is X lah. Kalau you buat for advertising expenditure, it is explained by advertising expenditure. How many percent? So we need to convert this value to percentage. Kalau dekat sini kita dapat 44 kan. It means that 44.27% of the variation in sales is explained by selling price. So since kita buat untuk selling price, and observation, we have 40 observation, right? Okay? Boleh? Ada soalan tak before we end our session? Soalan before we end our session, can you speak up?
No. Okay.
Okay So I hope you can do the assignment, group assignment nanti, group project. Very simple project. I think you can when you rewatch balik I punya video ni, nanti kena ni lah ke depan dan ke belakang sikit sebab ada part yang I tak record tadi yang depan-depan tu, yang apa macam mana nak create a simple linear regression, you kena pergi belakang sikit. Okay, so I hope to see you on 10 July for our last seminar. And do expect for your test number 2 on anytime, right? Anytime. So test number 2 will cover chapter. Okay, I will tell you the test number 2 will cover chapter number berapa. You listen carefully. So test number 2, oops, will cover from chapter 5, which is statistical inference, the last lecture, hypothesis testing, and then we will input linear regression, simple, multiple ni nanti I akan letak separate video next week ya. Next week I akan letak separate video continuity from this simple linear regression. And I akan masuk sikit forecasting techniques, right? Forecasting techniques ni akan masuk juga. So for those yang nak belajar moving average, I will show you moving average method and how to use it to do a forecasting, right? And then introduction to data mining sedikit. Kita akan cover test number 2. So test number 2 will be around maybe on week number 14 lah. Week number 14 is 11 until 17. Dalam week ni lah kita akan buat test number 2. Okay? Boleh?
Boleh.
Okay, good. So I think that's all. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.